me. Here I can just get the data equal the data service dot get categories and then return the data. And then it should be able to run that. No, absolutely not. I have to tell it about the routing. So I can do that in this way. We didn't do that last time. I can say route API. So I can say for this class, the default route is API category. So it counts for all the ones here. So if I want to do specific ones here, I can just extend with what I want to add to this part here. So everything inside here will start here. So if I save that and go back to this one and reload that, call API categories, I will get some mistakes, but that's about the database. So the problem is that it doesn't know there's an algorithm to answer it. The categories controller is the problem. Can you get some more?
There was something red in the syntax. If you go to Visual Studio back.
So if you can see, I know the problem, but I wanted to see if it gives us some help here.
Yeah.
So the problem here is that the category here have an ID and a name, but if you look at the database, it's here, it have a category ID and category name. So we have to do some mapping there in order for that to happen. So I can do that either by going here or change the name so that's for the category. Say the property and then the column. That's the ID. Has column name and then say that should be category ID. So that's the mapping. If you have a real database, you probably don't want to use the ugly database name inside the domain model. So in order to get rid of that, you can do this, and then you can do the same for name here. Let's see if that's still
You don't have a single tag, I think.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's the but the problem is that you. Thank you for that. I assume that this data service will be instantiated with something, but I didn't tell the system what that should be. So I have to go here and say service add. It could be either singleton or scoped. It means that the scope will create a new one for each scope. It doesn't matter here which one you use, but the iData service should just provide the data service. So whenever somebody asks for an iData service, give them an instance of the data service. Create one if you haven't one on already one created. Otherwise, just return the one you already created. So whenever this controller asks for the data service, the MVC or the ASP.NET will just provide an instantiation of that. That's dependency injection. We talked about that the last time also. So now, eventually we should get the time is running fast. So now I get the data. So that's the output from the database. So we have the data here. So I just if you go into the commits on GitHub, you can see what I did in every single of the steps. That's why I do these commits, so you can see the progression of the application. The next part we want to do is, for instance, to do something like public iResult get with an ID. So we want to get one specific category. So I need to set the route here. I think we did that last time also. So the route would be some ID. Don't know which one, and it will just match. We'll take whatever on the. So it'll be API/category/ID, and whatever you write there will be assigned to this variable here. So we can say, and then I go to my database service and say, get category by ID, whatever I want to call that. This one, of course, needs to be created. If I go here, it asks me if you want to create the method. Yes, I want to do that, and it should actually return the category. And then if I click on this one and go here, it asks me if I want to implement it. Yeah, I want to implement it, so I go here, and I can do this, copy and paste to make it faster. And instead of this, can you follow? No, you can't. I know that. It's impossible to do that. Not because I'm fast, because it's very difficult to look there and then write, and look there and then write. So, but you get an idea, and that's the most important part. So I just call on the categories I get first or default. So find the first one that matches this one here, and if I don't find anything, return default. Default for a category will be null. So the default value for an object is always null. So return look for the one with this ID, otherwise return null. I can go back to the controller and say, okay, if data equal null, then return not found. So that's a 404. Otherwise, return OK with the data. Save it. Go here, run this, and say now this should still work. Compile, reload the server. Blah blah blah. Come on, bang. And if I ask for number 4, it should get number 4. If I want this list to have the URL, so my domain model doesn't have the URL because that's not part of my domain model. The URL will be part of the JSON model I will return to the user. So that's two different models. So I have to work with two different models. In order to do that, I normally have a folder here. Oh, I just want to commit here. Oh, one. Not one, but below. I will create something called a new folder called View Models. And on that one, I create a new class. And I call my category View Model. So I want to have the model. So I will work with two models. One model that is the domain model. That's the internal representation inside my backend. But then I want to return something to the user with the JSON, and that's another model. So that's two different models. It doesn't need to be the same. It can be built on a merge or join or whatever. So in this case, what I want here is not the ID. I want the property string here. That is the URL. and I want the name. So instead of ID and name, I want this URL like that we talked about, the hypermedia. So instead of actually returning, this one will return categories. Instead of returning categories, I want to select the output from there, and then say for each category, I want actually to translate that into a new category view model. So what this will do is that it will run through all the elements that it selects, and for each element, it will actually translate it into a view model. So it will set the name equal to the category name. So if I save this and go back here and get all the categories, you will see that now it only has name because and it will also have URL, but it will be null because it's not. So I changed the model. So this is my output model now. It has URL. My domain model doesn't have a URL because it has nothing to do with my domain at all. But the URL has to do with the JSON model that I will return to the user. So in order to provide that, I can call something called URL equals, and then the environment here, because you return inherit from this controller, have a URL, and you can do like this. You can say the action is get, the controller is categories, and then you can take a value that it should the value it should use in order to get one specific user. This is the ID, and then it needs something very magical here. It's the action content, what is that? That's the URL. You don't need to know that because you will easy to find examples on that. But what I need is the URL. The URL right now have the local host and the port number so what this will provide to you is the HTTP :// server name the port number, and then the rest here will build the URL for you in the right way.
Can you just return a relative URL?
What?
Can you just return a relative URL?
Yeah, you can do that, but of course you could do that. But the problem is that normally you want it to be independent on. Then you cannot copy it to something else, so the user cannot copy it directly into to whatever it needs to do. And also in the other end, you need to keep track on the server side, on the client side. You need to keep track of what is the base and so on. So it's nicer just to have a URL that is the complete and absolute URL. But what you get now is this, hopefully. So now I get the URL, it will build the URL for me with the right information about the client. And if I click on that one, I will get directly to that part because that's just something I already implemented. Weird? No, it's not magic. It's just you just need to know where to look. So the same goes for down here. We want not to return the data here, but we want to return a new And you will see that new category view model. Come on. Name. So this is just not exactly the same. Name equal data.name. Then you have to copy this guy here. And of course you will see that, of course you probably want to move that into wrap it into a function, so you don't have to work with that every single time. But that's wrong. Then you have, don't repeat yourself is one of the, so one thing you could do is create a method down here that will provide to you, or make a factory that knows how to map from one model to another model. That'll probably be the one I will choose. I'll do something like this, add a new class. So model, and then say public static category view model, map from category. And then URL. Yeah, I'll not get the URL here, probably. String, whatever. And then know how to map, just return a new category model, and then do the stuff here. So it should be name equal category.name, and so on. You get the point. And then I can just, since this is a static method, I can just call it over here instead. I didn't finish it because we don't have the time, but then you can call this model factory here, map, and then take the data, and then add the URL to that. Something like that, this. So and this should be data. Of course, this one could also be made simpler. But then you just return the model. Yeah, we are running out of time. So that's the idea. That so you get the point. You get an idea of how to do it. It's not that it probably seems a little bit difficult, but it's not. But you have to think about your interface. Think about what would be nice to get back from the client, and then try to work on that. I'll be here Thursday, so probably if will be fast here. So if you want to repeat this Thursday morning, I can do that. So if somebody wants to work a little bit more with this example Thursday morning, it's fine for me, and we can just try to